Appender is an add-on extension that I put in a Google form that will allow me to have all of the information on that form directed to a specific document. So we can use this for things like running records or session notes to make sure that we keep everything well organized. So I'm going to start in my How to Build the Appender folder, and I'm going to start with making two different folders. My first folder is going to be the students. So now this could be individual students, or if I meet with students in groups, I might use the student group name. And what's going to happen is the program is going to pull the title of every document and populate a question in our Google form. So I'm going to make a new document here. In this first document, I'm going to name Allison. And then I'm going to come over and I'm going to hit new document, and I know it doesn't seem like there's one there, but it takes Google just a second to kind of refresh. I'm going to name this next document Ron, and I'm going to come back over. See, I told you it would show up. And my final document today, I'm going to name Annabelle. And now I've got 3 documents in this folder. So if I hit refresh, we will see all 3 documents, and they live in this folder. Now I'm going to come back to my How to Build the Appender folder. You could just be using your Google Drive here. I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call this Forms. Now this form, I'm going to make a couple of different forms that are going to live in this folder. So I'm going to start with New, Google Form, and the first question is always going to be name as a drop down. So I can title this form, and I'm just going to call this Session Notes, and when I click up an entitled form, it'll name it that. My first question is going to be name, and as I said before, we are going to have that as a drop down. And then my next is going to be questions, and I want to make sure that I'm using a form effectively. We're not just using it to replace a document, you're trying to make sure that it's saving you time. So I might put topics discussed, and I want to put a list of things as a checkbox. So this way I can go in and just tap in different things. So we may talk about class behavior, we may talk about home, we may talk about friends, all sorts of different things, and we're always going to include that other. Now, I'm going to come back up to my name, and I often forget these things, so we're going to hit plus here, and we can see it's going to put a question in there, and I'm going to include the date, and it changed this question to a date, and I'm also going to put in the time. Now, if you are a teacher that works on periods, you could go in and put this period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If you're a person who works on time, you could use time. It's going to be up to you what works. On this, it's going to be a specific time of day so that you can just note when you met with the student. Now, you can see on mine, in my form settings, I have every question is mandatory by default. You can choose to do that or not. I am going to add in one more question at the end, just in case I need something extra to put in. So I am going to put notes, and that is going to come as a paragraph. I'm not going to have that be a required question, however, because I want to make sure that if I just want to tap out the questions, I can do that. So that's one. My next one, I'm going to create a form, and this is going to just be a behavior. And I may or may not complete this form every day. Same thing, I'm going to put name, and I am just going to have behaved in class, and we are going to use this one as a linear scale. Not great for a 1, and we're going to have amazing for our 5s. Now, we can put all sorts of different forms here, and depending on our purpose, so we may be getting information for teachers, we may be putting behavior hands in place, we may have all sorts of things, but we want to realize that we can use these forms all over the place. Now, I've got my 3 documents here, and I've got my 2 forms here, and this is where we're actually going to use the Appender feature. So I'm going to come into the session notes, and I'm going to hit my add-on button. If you don't have any add-ons, you'll first start with your 3 dots. You're going to hit the Get Add-ons, and from here you're going to type in Doc Appender, and we are looking for it to come up. I'm going to hit back and approved for you. And DOC space. So that's how we're going to find it here. I'm going to come to this and type in DOC space A. There we go. Doc Appender. And now this is by New Visions Cloud Lab, Doc Appender, and if you haven't installed it, you will click it here and you will install it. It may have already been installed for you. You're going to come to your plus button and you are going to or the puzzle piece, and you're going to select Doc Appender. If this comes up, which occasionally it does, exit out and try again. And sometimes we'll just refresh the whole tab, Doc Appender, and then when we get it to open up this way, we're going to hit Open Sidebar. So if you have the same issue there, just refresh the tab, come back, and it'll help you troubleshoot. Now what we're going to tell it to do is we want it to pick a specific folder from our drive. Now fortunately, we just made these folders, so they're going to pop right up. So when I click Pick from Drive, the target folder, we want the student names folder. And we can see it's right here. It's the one we built most recently. You may have to dig around if it's in your drive, if you've made this and you're adding a new form. But I'm just going to select the folder. We're not going into the folder, we're only selecting the folder. And we are letting it know that this is the folder that it is going to target when we fill this form out. I'm going to hit my next button here. Then, for some reason, it won't read the questions right away. We always need to hit this refresh list button, and when we do, our questions are available. We're always going to pick name, because that's the idea. We're actually not picking the student's name, we're picking the document itself to put everything on, but because we're using name, it just works very nicely like that. And we are going to hit the Save and Populate button. It's going to go back to that folder, and it pulled the name of those 3 documents that we made already. And I'm going to hit Next. Now you're going to tell it what to put on that document. I don't love the timestamp button because sometimes we may wind up doing our notes away from the time of the actual meeting and it can get confusing. So I leave the timestamp blank. I also leave the username blank because I know that I'm the person doing this. If you're going to ask teachers to fill out a form, you may want to collect the username. That'll be up to you. But for me, on this, I'm going to have the name, the date, the time, the topics discussed, and the notes. And I'm going to change it from a separate bulleted list to separate vertical tables. I like how that looks. And then I'm going to hit Enable. I'm going to run this exact same feature through my behavior form. So I'm going to come over to this one, puzzle piece, Doc Appender, Open Sidebar. And once it's open, we're going to run the exact same thing, Pick from Drive. And we are going to pick students. Select, not opening the folder, just selecting the folder. And then we are hitting Next, Refresh List, Select Questions. Oh, this question was not put in as a drop down, so that's why it won't work. Perfect. So we'll come back over, Doc Appender, Open Sidebar. And here we go. Students, Next, Refresh List, and now the name option is available. So it always does need to be a drop down. Once I hit Save and Populate, we are going to see our our document names come in right here. Next, again, what questions do we want? I'm just going to have these, and I'd like them in separate vertical tables. Enable. So now all of these are done. Again, we can have as many forms as we absolutely want, and we can now start using these forms. Now we need to publish a form for it to be used now, so I'm just going to come in and I'm going to hit Publish on these forms, so they are now accessible. And I may want this accessible often, so I'm going to hit Copy, and because I'm working on a desktop, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to want to add a new shortcut, and I'm going to just put the link of that shortcut right here, and this is session notes. Boom. So now I have a nice little icon that's my session notes for this form. So when I double click this, it's going to open the form, and I'm going to pick Allison, and I'm going to pick today's date, which is the 10th, and it is currently just about 10:30 a.m. and we discussed home and friends and holiday plans. And I am going to hit submit. Oh, I'm going to record myself as well, and now I'm going to hit submit. I'm going to submit another response, and I'm going to talk to Ron, and it is also going to be today, but I talked to him earlier this morning at 9:30, and we discussed class behavior, and I'm going to hit submit. Now, I'm going to come over to behavior, copy this form, and I could bookmark it on my desktop also, or I could email it out, or whatever I need to do. And I'm going to click here, Allison, and Allison was amazing in class. What a delight. And now we see those forms are done. Now, the whole purpose of this is I can come into my session notes, I can go to my responses, and I can see half of the time I've worked with Ron, half the time I've worked with Allison. I can see the times and dates. I can see the things discussed. And sometimes looking holistically of all of the different topics discussed, we can see trends and have better understandings of things. We can also pull this out to a Google Sheet, and this sheet is going to again let me sort, and maybe I want to just pull all of my sessions with Allison herself and maybe make some charts and see what are these discussions that we're constantly working with in her. I can come over and build a chart. I could have selected a whole bunch of things for Allison and really gotten an idea of what it is that's going on with her. But really what's lovely about Appender are these documents. So I'm going to come over to the Allison document, and now I have all of these charts, and every time a form has been filled out on Allison that's been linked with Appender, all of her information is here. So I can see holistically what's going on, and each time a form is filled out, it's added as a new chart on this document. I then can bring this document to a child study team, to an IEP meeting, and have all of the information all in one place on this student. And that's the purpose of using Appender.